Welcome to TERRA at Home with your host, Kris Moretti.
Good morning and welcome to TERRA at Home. This morning I'm joined by the TERRA landscape coach, Laura Bitner. Good morning, Laura.
Good morning.
We're going to talk about something that we get all sorts of questions about really virtually any time of year.
Yes.
We're talking about pruning and how different types of plants require different types of pruning, and to further complicate the matter, different types of equipment for each job.
And different times of year.
Indeed. So we'll try to demystify pruning for you because there are all sorts of different techniques to bear in mind. But overall, at the end of the day, it's nothing to be afraid of.
No, it really isn't. And just a little bit of knowledge can help you go a long way.
So let's start off with some real basic information. Generally speaking, should you prune everything?
If it's getting out of hand and a little too big for the space that it's in, yes.
And some plants, rather than others, require pruning in order to stay healthy. So we're starting off with a French lilac. Now this is very typical in the current landscape right now. Lilacs bloom in late spring, and now that we're into summer, this is what you may be finding on your property. A lilac that's finished blooming, and now we've got spent flower heads that will then begin to turn to seed.
Yeah, and the important thing to remember when pruning your lilacs is timing. Timing is crucial because if you prune them too late, you will lose your flower buds for next year.
Okay.
So, good rule of thumb, best practice is to prune your lilacs right when they're done blooming.
Now this is something that can be said for almost any flowering plant. When in doubt, wait till it's just finished flowering.
Yes, very true. Forsythia, another thing that's just gone out of bloom at this time of year with the yellow flowers, is one that definitely needs to be pruned right after blooming.
Okay.
So when pruning a lilac just for deadheading, you just basically need a pair of hand pruners, and you just kind of come up and right before the where a leaf union is, where the new leaves are coming out, just trim it off.
Okay.
It's not
That's
any
not
trouble.
so scary.
No, it really isn't. So here I'm going to come down a bit lower and prune right there. And it just really cleans up the look of the plant. You don't have these dead guys on it for the majority of the summer. And there we go. In this instance, we do have a little bit of dieback from a branch that got broken. So again, just come in as close to the stem as possible, make that cut, and it looks better already.
It does.
Yeah, here's another one here. There we go.
So that's a pretty simple procedure, and really it's nothing more than deadheading. We do it with perennials, we do it with nursery stock. When we're finished flowering, removing spent flower heads will both help the overall health of the plant, but it'll help to encourage further flowering in repeat bloomers too. We'll see more about that in a minute.
Yes.
Let's move on to evergreens.
Yes.
Now evergreens are something that many people may not think to prune, but they can benefit from pruning, especially in this instance where we have an area that has been damaged.
Yeah. You know, with evergreens, ones that have a more open kind of airy shape, I always suggest pruning for, you know, having a little bit of delicacy when doing it, just because we don't want to compromise. We don't want to make this into a ball. That's not how it's supposed to look. So in this instance here, we will just come in and kind of follow down that one that is not too pretty and give it a trim. And we can do that over here as well. So it's a bit more selective in pruning with some of your evergreens, so you're not compromising the overall shape of the plant itself.
So that's a good example with this one, where we have a threadleaf false cypress where really its shape is its main ornamental interest. We've got beautiful cascading branches and we don't want to chop those off.
No.
On the other end though, perhaps an evergreen like a boxwood, a cedar, even some varieties of juniper can be pruned a little more aggressively.
Yes, more aggressively for sure, and oftentimes we are pruning those ones for a specific shape, be it a hedge or just a round circle, as in boxwood often.
Things to bear in mind for evergreens. Anytime you have damage, you can feel free to prune it. But overall, Laura, is there a specific time of year where we should be pruning evergreens as opposed to not pruning them?
Well, we don't want to be doing it in the heat of the summer. So spring and fall are the best times to be pruning evergreens. In the heat of the summer, you can get some moisture loss through the ends, then causing brownout, which again is not that pretty.
Okay, so we'll move on from evergreens then onto our next one. where we've got a not so pretty looking willow.
Yes.
Willows are some of those plants that grow very vigorously, very quickly, but in this instance we have a plant that has sustained some damage. So once again, we're going to prune both to remove damage and to rejuvenate the plant overall.
Yes.
And this is a good example of a plant where we can prune perhaps more aggressively in order to encourage fresh new growth.
Yes, and the great thing about these willows, its new growth comes out in pink. Then it turns to kind of a bluey cream color. Once that pink has turned bluey cream, to give it a trim at that time, we'll give you a second flush of pink.
Okay.
So it's a good time to do it. That's a good key to remember once you don't see any pink anymore.
Willows are one of those plants that we don't really need to be afraid of cutting because they grow so quickly.
Yeah.
So you can cut this quite aggressively.
Yes, general rule of thumb when pruning shrubs is no more than 1/3 of the plant at a time. In this instance, we could go down 1/3, and really what that's going to do is concentrate more growth in the bottom area and make it a little more easy to handle, not quite as messy.
Okay, so show us how far we could cut this without fear.
Well, and again, size and shape is all relative, but the willow does grow relatively quickly. So I'm going to actually take it back to here, and I'm just going to cut it all back, and we're going to clean it right up. And it can be scary, and it can look a little bare in the landscape to begin with, but you know what? It's going to come back stronger than before. And in some instances where we've got these little kind of dead branches down here, we're just going to cut them off close to the base as well. That way we're not allowing the plant to spend energy on things that don't matter. So again, you don't have to be afraid of cutting the willows.
Look
there we
at that.
go. Like I said, it looks a little
haircut.
sparse, but
We'll
nothing to
cut
worry
those
about.
as well.
Yeah.
We'll move along though, running out of time. We've got a hydrangea
Hydrangeas,
here.
yes.
Hydrangeas are some of those plants that we get all sorts of questions about because you prune different types in a different way. Now this is a macrophylla hydrangea, and what we've got here is last year's growth kind of there, and it's not growing. So this is a kind of a typical situation that you would find in the early summer where new growth has leafed out, but this old stuff is still hanging around.
Yeah, so typically you just kind of take it back to where you can see lots of new growth, and we're just going to give it, again, nice clean cuts. That guy looks okay. He's got some good new growth coming up here. This one, cut it right back, as well as this one. So really we are just cleaning up the overall appearance of this shrub.
Perfect.
In the landscape, yes.
Last but not least, my favorite, because this is one that I think is going to really be scary for some people.
Yeah.
But we're talking about summer flowering shrubs like potentilla, like spirea, that can tend to, if not pruned, get a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
So here you can see we have a very asymmetrical shape.
Yes.
It's half in flower, it's half not.
Yep.
And we can really go to town on this.
We can, and that is a great thing about the potentilla. So in this instance, and in the landscape, this will probably be much bigger than this, but using hedge trimmers is going to be so much easier. So we want to look for almost the existing shape that's in there somewhere, but we just can't see it quite yet because of all of the, watch your arm there, because of all of the outward growth. So again, we are cleaning it right up, just making it nice and neat and tidy, and you do not need to be concerned or afraid to be chopping away at this guy.
Thank you so much, Laura.
There we go, a little bit better. My pleasure.
More great tips coming up next from TERRA at Home.
Come and explore the new TERRA, where color lives.
Terra at Home, where I'm now joined by Pam Jamieson from the Hamilton Burlington SPCA. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's a pleasure being here. It's a beautiful sunny day. I can't think of a better place to be. Flowers, dogs, and great people.
The world is a good place.
It is today, that's for sure.
So Pam's here to tell us about the SPCA's fantastic program of Meet Your Match. Now, this is a really unique program where you basically match up people with their ideal dog when they're looking for adoption. Is that right?
That's right. That's absolutely correct. And it is a great program. And as we were talking earlier, TERRA, a place where color grows, the same with the Hamilton Burlington SPCA too. Our dogs are actually coded purple, orange, or green. So when you come in and fill out a survey, you're coded purple, orange, or green too. But we start at the beginning with doing a safer test because we want to make sure that the animals are safe before we put them up for adoption.
Definitely.
And that includes our cats too. We also do this with cats. And once we've done that and we do all their health care, which we have a wonderful, wonderful health program, great people on staff taking care of the dogs, then we put them into lifelike situations, home-like situations.
Yeah.
So we'll put them in an alone room. What are they going to do when they're all alone? With a garbage pail, a countertop, a door, a window, just like at home. We'll put a crate there. We'll put them in the crate to see how they are. We also test them around food too. Most dog bites unfortunately occur around high value items, food or toys. So we test them with that. We'll test them with other dogs. We'll test their manners, how they are when we touch their feet, their ears and everything. And then we code them, purple, orange, or green. We also go on energy level too, so it's kind of neat. At home I have a color of the rainbow, so I have purple, orange, or green. This little guy may not look it right now, but he actually is green. This is Robbie. He's about 1.5 years old. He's a hound type breed that's been in our care.
He's very sweet.
He is showing very sweet right now. We've had a busy morning though. I took him out for a good exercise and we had a long car ride, so he's pretty placid right now. But he shows green in our Meet Your Match.
And now green would be a really high energy dog?
Yeah, it's a little bit higher energy and lots of endurance. So I think he's the kind of dog though, if you give him the right things, that he's going to be up when you're up and down when you're down, which is kind of nice, you know? A tired dog is a good dog, as we've talked about that before. So your purple is a little bit easier going laid back, not as physically hard to handle as a green dog maybe. But a lot of our dogs also have that stipulation too. Some of them may not be suitable for smaller children at this time. They're going to need retraining. They come to us for various reasons, like this little guy was a stray, right?
Aww.
So he came into our care. He was heartworm positive, unfortunately. We've treated him for that. He's all better now, but he's still going to have that exuberance of the green. I love the colors. I find it hard for dogs to be green.
Yes. It's not easy being green, as they say, I guess.
I know Kermit said that, didn't he? So, but I like the greener dogs. But that's how we do that.
So basically it gives you a great overall understanding of the dog, what the dog's needs are going to be, and then of course you can find a more appropriate home for that dog, which is essentially the name of the game.
Absolutely, and we don't want to make it hard for people. When you come in and fill out the survey, it's not about what are you going to do with the dog, it's about what can you give the dog. So you're going to tell me what you have to offer. So that way I can say, well, you know what, I think this dog's going to match you. And that's what we want to do. That's what it's all about. A more, not so much open adoption, about making you aware and accountable for what you're saying you're going to be able to give a dog.
So what are some of the benefits of going to adopt a dog from somewhere like the SPCA as opposed to other means of acquiring an animal? I mean, there are so many feel-good reasons to look to a shelter to find your animal.
You know what? First and foremost, you're saving a life. And I have to tell you honestly, 1 in 7 dogs will be a purebred dog that come into our care.
It's amazing.
So, you know, there's a lot of great breeders out there, and that's wonderful, and they're accountable for their dogs, but purebred dogs do end up in our facility. And if you have a purebred dog, some people go into it for, they go into different aspects of training, like flyball, agility, you can use a crossbreed. But when you're showing dogs and doing other things, you may need a purebred for that. If you're not into that and you want a pet, a companion, somebody that's going to get you up in the morning, get you out walking, and make you accountable for yourself and for them, then this is the way to go. The adoption option is the way to go. And you're saving a life. I can't tell you about how many hundreds of animals are out there right now that need that second chance.
Yeah.
And it's a man-made problem, so man has to solve this problem, I think, anyways. That's my belief.
I'm with you on that one. You and I are both parents of adopted
Yes,
dogs,
we
dogs
are.
that came from shelters, and I know that it's been a really positive change in my life.
Yes.
What are some of the benefits of owning a dog? What can they bring to your family?
Well, actually, they can teach you compassion, respect, responsibility, and weight loss, exercise, get you back in touch with nature. They can get you out in the garden. You know, we
Definitely.
talked about that too. You got to be careful out there, but they get you outside. They're a reason to get up in the morning. You can't give up because you got to get up and get them up if things go wrong or if things are good. It's just puts a smile on your face when you're walking down the street and you see people and you talk to them and interact. It's just such a great feeling. I can't say enough about having a pet
Definitely.
in your life. They teach you so much.
You mentioned dogs in the garden, and that's
Yes.
something that many of our viewers are perhaps encountering right now. It can be challenging with some dogs who may have the tendency to dig or the
Yes.
tendency to run through garden areas. Do you have any tips for people incorporating dogs into their outdoor spaces?
Well, actually, I think it's really important that we go back to the basics. Exercise is key. A tired dog is a good dog. And not just a 15-minute jaunt around the block. They need actually the equivalent of a good 45-minute cardio in the morning and at night would be ideal
Yeah.
for both you and the dog. And when we're trying to teach them manners, keeping them on a leash is the best way to do it. It doesn't mean we're going to be there and hard on them all the time. We're going to direct them. So we're going to walk them around our garden area, and if they get into something, just a simple no and redirect them to something else can suffice. Being there all the time and watching them. Some dogs dig. Where are we when they're digging?
Right.
If we're right there, we can say no, put a stop to it, and give them an alternative play. If they're trying to get over the fence, we're there to say no and give them an alternative. And at the end of the leash is the best way, as opposed to grabbing the collar and tugging. We don't want to do anything abrasive with them. We just want to redirect like we would a child. If they're crayoning on the wall,
Yes.
we're going to go, no,
That's
let's
against
come
the
here.
rules.
Yeah, let's do it on the table, on the paper. You know, you don't want to escalate anything by getting angry. Losing your patience isn't going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Just that simple redirection over and over again, supervision, and you're going to have safe outdoor activity. Keeping your pets up to date on their vaccines and heartworm prevention are crucial if you're going to spend a lot of time outside in your garden with your dog.
Definitely.
Or walking. Those things are crucial.
Yeah.
So those things are important. Be there, 100% supervision.
For anyone who's interested in adopting Robbie, if he's still available by the time we're on air, hopefully he's found a home by then. But there are always lots of dogs. If there's someone out there who's looking for a companion, where do they go to find out
They
more?
can come up and visit us. We're up on the East Mountain in Hamilton, 245 Dartnell Road, just off the Lincoln Alexander Parkway. We're open 7 days a week, 12 till 7:30 Monday to Friday, 10 till 5 Saturday, and we're open 12 till 5 on Sunday. And Robbie, he's a year and a half old, and he's waiting for his new forever home. So hopefully he's going to get that.
Let's hope so. Thanks so much, Pam.
Thank you.
Join us after the break for Fun in the Kitchen with Chef Rachel.
When we first bought the house, the lawn was nothing but brown. So I called my father-in-law. You know, he's really good with the lawn. He knows exactly what to do.
Well, I told him you're Scott's turf builder. He said, well, I got this other stuff, and I told him, take it back to the store. Well, some brands have filler like sand and gravel, stuff you don't want on your lawn. Scott's turf builder is pure food. Every granule's 100% nutrition. You get what you pay for every time. You see what happens, Tim, when you listen to your father-in-law?
All food, no filler. That's the Scott's advantage.
AM 900 CHML is giving you more news when you want it most. Non-stop news weekday mornings 5 till 9, weekday afternoons 3 to 6, with weather and traffic on the 9s. Hear about it first from AM 900 CHML, Hamilton's news talk leader.
Welcome back to TERRA at Home, where I'm joined now in the kitchen by Chef Rachel Johnstone. Thanks,
Kris.
as always, for being with us, Rachel.
My pleasure.
We're going to make a real summer classic here. What are we creating today?
Today we're going to make a gazpacho soup.
Fantastic.
So a nice chilled summer soup, lots of vegetables, very healthy. Yeah, and there's no cooking involved.
Sounds good. I've
Which is
always
great.
enjoyed gazpacho as a nice, fresh summer treat, but I've never made one, so I'm excited to get your take on it.
Yeah, it's quite easy. There are a lot of different takes on it. This is mine. We're gonna start off with some fresh tomatoes.
Of course.
So I think 3 of them should be just enough. A paring knife might work best, but I have my big chef's knife here, so I'm gonna grab it close to the end and just take out the core. And we're just gonna dice these tomatoes, okay?
Okay.
So we'll get that done. Yeah, so we have a blender, and basically all the ingredients that we're gonna use just go into the blender and we'll blend it up. Whew.
Tomatoes, of course, form the basis of a nice gazpacho, and getting closer to tomato season where you'll be able to find great local tomatoes at the farmers markets and use them in fresh abundance.
In addition to these tomatoes, I'm also gonna use some tomato juice as well.
Okay.
I'm not gonna worry about the seeds. It's gonna be a rustic one.
Nice.
Just because I wanna keep all that in there. I wanna keep all the juice in there.
Okay.
So just a rough chop with the tomatoes would be great because we're gonna blend them a little bit. But we do want the soup to still be a little bit chunky.
Okay.
Okay, so.
And yes, I've had gazpacho in several ways where on occasion, yes, we can have a chunky style, but you've also found them to be very smooth purees is another way to do it. So I like that ours is going to be a bit chunky. We've got all sorts of different flavors and vegetables going in here, so I think it's going to be quite a treat.
Yeah, it all just depends on your preference. I'm going to put the ingredients in the blender in 2 separate batches.
Okay.
Just to make sure that it all gets blended up nice and evenly. So I'll just cut my tomatoes for the second batch, but that's all I'm going to put in at the moment.
And I think that's generally a pretty good technique for anything that you're pureeing. Often I've made, say, a cream of potato soup where you need to puree a large amount of potatoes. If you try and put everything in at once, you end up with some that are lumpy bumpy and others that are really liquefied at the bottom. So smaller batches and then working them together is probably the best
Exactly.
bet.
Yeah. Okay, so we have our tomatoes in here.
Okay.
We're gonna add about a cup of tomato juice.
Okay.
But keep some extra handy just in case, because you want to make sure that the consistency is proper.
Okay.
Right? And you'll be able to tell that when you're mixing it up. So I put half of that in. We have some chopped red onion. Okay, some zucchini.
Another summer favorite.
So just diced again, pretty simple. Green pepper. There we go. I also saved an orange pepper beside me to just show you how I dice up a pepper if you have trouble sometimes, because it can be an odd shape.
Okay.
So I have a technique. Just cut the top and the bottom off. And these can be cut up as well, so there's no waste. I'm adding the orange just for a little extra color. And then you just kind of slit right down from the top to the bottom, and you get your knife in there and you just cut out the core.
Look at you. I love your little tricks.
So I love this trick because it really leaves you with a nice shape to work with. Instead of there's ways that you can cut the pepper where it comes out, not completely straight. So in this case, you have a nice straight piece to work with, and you can cut like a nice, perfect little dice out of it.
Bravo, chef.
So, a little trick for you. Again, we'll cut a little extra for our second batch. And then, like I said, you can chop up the ends too. You don't want to waste any, obviously. There you go. So, put half of this in.
Something I love about preparing summer dishes, and you do it so well, Rachel, is the beautiful blend of different colors so that it looks as beautiful as it tastes. And we've got such a wide range available in our summer vegetable palette that everything just looks so lovely as we create them.
Thank you. Okay, we have some diced cucumber here too that we're gonna add in. So I'll put a little bit of that. This is getting full of veggies, so we might need some more tomato juice.
Okay.
Some hot peppers too. Your favorite kind, jalapenos. This is a finger pepper and Scotch bonnet. So let's dice a little bit of that up in there.
All right. That, of course, could be optional. If you don't like it too hot, you could omit the spice, but I think it'll be really nice.
Right. And you could also, you cut out the seeds, that helps a bit, but I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm just gonna throw it in right like this.
All right.
We're gonna use the green finger pepper there. Perfect. And we're just about ready to blend.
Okay.
So I think that we should probably add a little bit more of this. And then I'll get you to blend that up, just pulsing it a little bit.
Okay. So
We'll add more liquid as we need it. You might need to just lift it up.
I think we're on there, yeah?
You're on there?
There we
okay,
go.
Great.
And we're just going to make it sort of a chunky but blended consistency,
Yes.
I'm guessing.
Perfect.
Right about there?
Yeah, I think that's good. We're gonna take that out and put it into our bowl here, and then we'll add the rest of the ingredients. I do have some garlic here that I'm gonna chop up roughly, and I'm gonna throw that in the next batch as well. Beautiful.
Oh, it looks good. And it smells really delicious too.
Very fresh and healthy.
So we'll set that out front. I guess we'll
Perfect.
repeat the process, put the whole thing back in together again, and we'll blend again.
Yep.
When we come back after the break, we're going to finish putting it all together, offer some great garnish options as well, because
For sure.
with something as light and lovely as a fresh gazpacho, of course, we want to make sure that it looks really nice when we're finished with it as well. Come back for the finished product and more Terra at Home.
Come and explore the new Terra, where color lives.
Welcome back to Terra at Home, where Chef Rachel has created a lovely gazpacho, a nice cold soup for a hot summer day. Maybe let's recap a little bit, Rachel, what we did to make this happen.
Sure. In the blender, we added our vegetables and the tomato juice. So we had zucchini, cucumber, red onion, a little bit of garlic, some chili pepper, in a couple batches. Just pulsing it, making sure not to pulse it too much. You want to keep the red color of the tomatoes and the juice, and leave the vegetables a little chunky. And then I put it all back into the blender once it was all pretty much to the consistency that I wanted. Added a little bit of lime juice.
Okay.
And that's about it. Season with salt and pepper. And then you put it in the fridge, and I mean, you could eat it right away because it is cold, but it would be probably a little bit better if you chilled it for a bit, if you had the time. So maybe, half hour to an hour. We have some chilled bowls here that we're gonna pour it into, and then we'll talk about garnishes.
Working with white dishes is nice with a dish like this. It's all about the presentation. So these flavors will really bounce, and that beautiful color will really pop off of that white dish. Oh, it looks good.
There you go.
And we did go with a bit of a rustic flair with this one, where we've left it kind of chunky. Of course, the options are all up to you, and you can find this in all of Rachel's recipes available at terragreenhouses.com. So Rachel, with a finishing touch to really pull this all together, we've got lots of different options. You've reserved some green onions, which can of course just be sprinkled on top and look lovely.
Yep.
But with kind of a blank slate, where we've got a nice play of different vegetable flavors happening, we can really bring them to life with different herbs as well.
Right. Yep. There's a wide variety of herbs that would go well with this. I think we both agreed that we would try some basil.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do one with some basil.
Okay.
I've got a variety. We've got some purple as well as some lettuce leaf basil. So I think maybe I'll just put a touch of both on there, and we can enjoy that however
it smells
we like.
beautiful.
It smells amazing, and it goes so nicely with tomato.
Exactly.
But another more slightly exotic option perhaps is Vietnamese coriander. We were looking for just sort of a straight cilantro or coriander, but this has a really similar flavor, and it's really quite unique and beautiful.
It is. Very nice, and not so common, I'd say. So a nice addition. We'll just put these leaves together, make a little chiffonade, and sprinkle that on top.
Fantastic. Join us next week for more tips and tricks from the kitchen and garden on Terra at Home.